What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 13 of the PokeMMO podcast. My name is YoungCabbage, your host, and I just wanted to let you guys know that this week we have a very unique episode. I had some scheduling complications with the person who was supposed to be on. However, what I ended up doing was just creating a theory crafting episode that was pre-recorded. So if you do enjoy episodes like this and you want one where it's more just a theory crafting or kind of idea dump, once a month or whatever, let me know in the comments if you do enjoy this one. But we're going to do the catch events first, and then we'll go right into the main topic of today. Okay, so for the catch events of the week, we have two. The first one is called Stockpile, Swalot, and Spit Up. This will take place on the 30th of August and has a super funny gif of a swalot eating somebody on the front. It's going to take place at 8 p.m. UTC, and you're going to be catching what looks like Swalot, Krogunk, Quagsire, Babarrel, Weasel for the Gift Shiny Gulpin prize. Now, this is probably... I didn't know these catch events before looking at them now, and I'm super excited. Shiny Gulpin has been on my list for single encounters for a long time. But you do also get your choice of nature, 2 moves, 3 selectable IVs, as well as 1000 RP. Amazing prize for this event. Shiny Gulpin is so good. It's got a really cool blue color. So again, Friday the 30th of August, 8 p.m. UTC. Make sure to check that one out. And then after that, the second one is called Sing With Me. This will take place Saturday, the 31st of August. You'll be catching Jigglypuff, Charmander, and Ekans, and you'll be able to receive just a regular gift Jigglypuff. I don't know why they wouldn't make this a shiny prize, but that's totally fine. Like, maybe there's a certain limit of how many shiny prizes they're allowed to give out. But you do get your choice of nature, 4 moves, and 6 selectable IVs, as well as 1000 RP. So a really cool, fun, like, Jigglypuff prize. I'll probably go do this one anyways, just because Jigglypuff is one of my favorite Pokemon. So those are going to be the catch events of the week. One thing I did want to ask, I wanted to see if you guys were curious, if you wanted me to read out the NU, UU, OU, like different tournaments that are happening throughout the week. I assume you don't, because I have not gotten any comments on that. But those are going to be the catch events. Let's get right into the episode. I guess starting from the beginning, I've always loved theory crafting in games. I've always loved little hidden Easter eggs or little small features that you can add to games to basically breathe new life into them, right? And PokeMMO has done a great job recently adding things like, Johto to the mix and the Ho-Oh rebattle and Trainer Red. Like, Johto was a perfect example of the love each region needs to receive. And I do think that there's actually a lot of different ways that they can implement these small changes in different regions to breathe more life into the game, right? And so what I did is I basically just compiled a little list. Let me see this. I compiled a little list here of different changes that I think PokeMMO could make that would just really help trainers, break away from the mundane path and just enjoy the game in a new way or explore a new area, something to give us just like slightly more content with minimal effort, right? Again, I just want to preface by saying I think the developers are doing a great job in terms of some of the content that they've added, and having all the regions available is already a huge win in my book. But I'm one of those people who's in the camp that I really hope we don't get the DS games unless they maintain the same GBA style, but I don't think that's possible. So, at least in my opinion, I don't think getting, games like X and Y or keeping to, like, moving forward with more of the regions is kind of the way PokeMMO should go. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but for me personally, I just think having the 5 regions and then building end game content should be the focus. So the first little change I think that should be made is actually going to be in Unova, and it is with hidden grottos. Now, if you don't know what a hidden grotto or grotto, I think it's grotto, hidden grotto is, it is basically a feature in the game where there are these small little clearings in between certain trees, and you can actually go and interact with those, and it opens up into its own little area. Now, this area is just a simple small room, but inside of each room, it actually spawns a Pokemon from a random pool, depending on the location. This is super cool and could provide a really unique way for them to, even drop like cool, rare, exclusive alpha Pokemon, or give you heightened shiny odds, or different little ways. Kind of like, think of it like honey trees, right? Except you don't have to smear the honey. You could go in there and get your encounter every 6 hours or so, and check it and pull from even a pool of Pokemon that's not necessarily like super rare, but you could have a lot of like a new way of encountering Pokemon with hidden abilities is kind of like my biggest, way of, or advocation for this, is like, if I could go and find a hidden Grotto and inside is a hidden ability Dunsparce or something, or a hidden ability Murkrow. And so you can just get these cool Pokemon, make a little extra yen, and switch up your mundane routine with a few extra things in Unova. I think that would be awesome. How it works in the mainline games is basically, again, you'll see in between certain trees, there's not a gap. It actually looks more of like a cave entrance. And so what it says is that, I'll read here from Searby. It says the contents of the hidden grottos change and get generated repeatedly. Whenever you take 256 steps in the game, there is a 5% chance that each of the hidden grottos will be generated. When it's generated, there is a 40% chance of an item, a 40% chance of an item, and a 20%, wait. Yeah, and a 20% chance of a Pokemon. So basically, you walk into these hidden grottos. Every 256 steps, there's a 5% chance that on that route, the hidden grotto will spawn, right? So it's not always going to be there. It's not a location you can go hide in. Um, but it gives you the chance at an item, which would be really cool. A lot of times they're evolution items, or even I'm seeing like a lot of repels, pokeballs, things like that. But they could add small things like, maybe there's a small chance to get a pearlescent pearl, or prismatic pearl. You know what I mean? Like, different cool items that are normally obtainable only through like selling shinies, or other things, could be found in these hidden grottos. I think that would be a really cool idea. So that's going to be our first one, is adding hidden grottos to the game. Please look up this feature regardless, because it's a super cool mechanic that I do think was slept on in Generation 5. So really cool. Moving on to the next topic, I wanted to bring up one that I know has been controversial for a while, and that's actually going to be Mirage Island. So, Mirage Island, if you don't know what that is, in the Generation 3 games, which is Hoenn, you can have a very small percent chance every single time, or every in-game day, I believe, that there's a man in Pacific Town, I believe, and he goes, "Oh, I don't see Mirage Island today." Right? And he repeats this until eventually he ends up finding Mirage Island, and then it's like, I think it lines up with your Pokedex. There's some kind of weird coding thing there I'm not going to try and get into or pretend to know about. But basically, you have an incredibly rare chance that on, in between Route 31, it's on Route 30. So in between 31 and 29, you can encounter an island that only appears with super rare circumstances. Now, what's on this island is super weird. It actually only has so it has a little patch of grass, one plot for berries, which I'm kind of laughing at, thinking like if you found it and planted a lepa or something. But it has one plot for berries, and then it has a patch of grass, and then there's water around it. So why I think this location would be cool to add is, firstly, because it is a super, super fun and easy thing you could add to the game, right? It's very simple. This would not be hard to code in, and it creates a really unique location for hatching eggs. It creates a really, like unique location to shiny hunt. So many different things. Like, imagine having, at least, like, let me go over the encounters first, and I'll go back to why that's cool. So you can encounter by surfing and Old Rod, and like basically surfing and fishing. You can get like the basic Pelipper, Wingull, Tentacool, Whalmer, Love Disc, Sharpedo, and then in the grass you can only encounter Wynot. So I think this would be a super funny chance for them to basically, like, imagine if a player, going back to the original thought, had a Mirage Island Wynot as a shiny. It would make that shiny Pokemon infinitely more valuable, and it would be a way cooler story to tell versus like, oh yeah, I caught a ×5 Horde Wobbuffet. Instead you got the cool catch location, And you can wild encounter this Why Not Pokemon, which is normally only a lure exclusive Pokemon on Island 3. So that was just kind of a fun idea that I was thinking I personally would love to see this edition. Again, this is probably the easiest one to implement. I'm not a developer, so I could be just dead wrong on this. However, all you have to do is code in this small island that has a small, even just roll a small chance of spawning this island every single in-game day, and talking to that guy basically initiates that, right? And so I think this would be really cool. But it's just super cool. Like the fact that there are these little islands or little hidden areas in the game that haven't been implemented gives them a really unique opportunity to like quote unquote add content in a very small way that would be very impactful. Like I just think it would be super cool to have like the amount of the focus that people would have. Like imagine pulling up to Mirage Island and there's one other person there and you're both just gonna stay on the island and shiny hunt why not, or whatever. Like you can keep your character on that island as kind of a subtle flex or something. Anyways, I thought that one was awesome. I think it'd be really cool. Plus, it gives you Enigma berries. If you don't know what that is, it's like a really cool question mark berry. I'm not sure if it does anything, but I thought that was kind of fun. Anyways, or I think it's a lychee berry. That's what it is. All right, so let's move on to the third one, and probably the most popular, or I would say like controversial one in this entire list is going to be the Pokeathlon. So if you don't know what the Pokeathlon is, it is basically Mario Party for the Johto region, right? That's the easiest way to describe it. Basically, you can use your Pokemon to play a series of mini games it involves, you have Plinko, you have jumping hurdles, you have like basically Fusion Frenzy style, like knock each other off the map. You have one where you're racing or building snowballs, and just so many funny little mini games that I think would be so fun to have. Plus, it incorporates a trophy room. And so by playing these mini games, you can earn not only will it switch up the mundane, but it gives you an entire new subcategory of items to earn, of different, Pokemon to build, things like that. And it creates a really cool, kind of like almost unique way to spend your time in the game. Because we have right now the main categories are Poke, like, shiny hunting, then there's PvP. You could say like raid bosses and PvE and stuff like that, which is another topic I'm going to get into in a second. But it adds an entire new subcategory of events that they could throw, and it just gives you a great way to play the game with friends. Like the whole goal of PokeMMO is to play the game with friends, but you can battle and stuff, but apart from battling and trading, there isn't much you can do. If you could play the Pokeathlon with your friends and bring your favorite shiny Pokemon, or bring your favorite even regular PvP Pokemon, or whether you're into like even just a little Ditto or something, like you bring that into Pokeathlon, you play mini games, take a break from shunting. You can add different rewards and things, but regardless, it's just so cool. You get the record haul, which gets added in there, so that way you can see what teams you've won what categories with, which is super cool. There's individual events, there's a Hall of Fame. Anyways, just look into the Pokeathlon Dome. I think this would be, out of all the features, if I could snap my fingers and make one of them happen tomorrow, it would be the Pokeathlon Dome. I think this needs to be implemented in the game, and if it doesn't need to be, but if it's implemented in the game, it's going to be a fantastic addition, and a lot of people would be very happy with it. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is going to be a very kind of unique, more of a theory crafting idea than the others. And this one is actually going to be how they could implement Unova 2 or Black and White 2, right? How to implement those games into PokeMMO. And the way that I think they could do that is, I guess let's go over why I think they should. So Pokemon Black and White, if you don't know, are the first of a two-part installment to the Pokemon series. And it's cool that we have Pokemon Black. It really is. But what's awesome about Pokemon Black and White 2 is it actually continues the story. There's a lot that goes unfinished. If you guys watched my video on the Seven Sages, you can, in there, I tell you that, you catch all the Seven Sages, and then he says, hey, someone that looked like N was spotted flying around on Reshiram. Like, let's keep your eyes peeled for him. Well, that storyline can't be completed until Black and White 2. There's also a lot of other storyline progression things that happen in storyline or in Black and White 2. Some really cool gyms. My personal favorite Pokemon gym ever, which is Roxy, like the poison gym. So cool. But what's really, really unique and really cool about Pokemon Black and White 2 is it keeps all of the same Gen 5 Pokemon. It doesn't add new Pokemon apart from like different legendaries and things. But so I think it would be, first of all, it doesn't mess with the Pokedex. It doesn't mess with hardly anything else. It would be an easy addition as far as like Pokemon goes. Secondly, the region's very simple. It's straightforward, and they've already implemented Black and White. So clearly those regions work. Now, the hard part is because those take place in the future of Pokemon Black and White, how can they implement these without like while keeping like lore people happy? How can they implement these and have it make sense? Because you can't, like, realistically, you wouldn't be able to take the ferry to like the same region 5 years in the future or whatever it is, right? So I created a kind of unique way to implement a useless area to cater to that. So firstly, the location is going to be the Pokemon Transfer Lab that is just underneath or to the left of Pokemon Black City. So the Poke Transfer Lab initially on the DS was meant to transfer Pokemon from older generation games all the way up to Generation 5. So you can basically transfer these using two different DSs, and then like recatch your Pokemon that, like, let's say you had a Blaziken, you traded up to Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and then you transfer that Blaziken from Pokemon Diamond and Pearl to Pokemon Black using the Poke Transfer Lab. All right. So that's kind of the idea or thought process behind why that's a thing. Now, why I think this location is because obviously in PokeMMO, we're not going to be transferring Pokemon. The location is useless. It just says the function's not implemented, and it's probably going to stay that way forever. So why not do something unique and creative with it? So what my recommendation would be is to have the scientist, there's a French scientist on the inside of it that basically kind of guides your experience in the mainline games. Have this scientist discover time travel with the help of Celebi or something like that. And then what you can do is you can talk to this professor after you've beaten the Unova region, and he'll say, his dialogue in the games is like, do you want to take place in like a groundbreaking, like the discovery of a century? And you can say yes, and he'll say okay, like, and then you just add one of the assets from Pokemon Diamond, that's Dialga's time rift or whatever. You add that, or like the entrance to the distortion world, just reuse that sprite or model or dye it blue, and then have it create a portal that you walk through, and it says, do you want to, all your Pokemon will be transferred to the PC or whatever if you're going to start this new region. And then you go through, and boom, it teleports you back to your house in Unova, but in Unova 2. So that's my idea, right? Like you have this whole area that's useless right now and probably will remain useless. It's like the Pal Park in Sinnoh as well. But it breathes new life into the game, and it allows a way to basically get you to the second installment of the game, Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, while making sense. So hopefully you guys stayed with me during that explanation. I know that was a lot of information, but I do think that would be a super cool idea, a great way to introduce it. And you could even do something funny, like, you have Celebi, like, it's kind of like the fairy guy. It's the fairy, like, pirate looking guy, and then his Chatot. You could have the scientist and Celebi, and he says, except for you make him the useless one, says talk to Celebi if you want to transfer yourself back to back in time. And so then anyways, you get this really cool dynamic of, like, you go down to the ferry by Unova, and only in Unova you can talk to the guy in the ferry. Like, there's him and his Chatot, then right next to him is standing the scientist and Celebi that you could talk to. Maybe they have like a portal down there as well you could talk to and jump in. But that would transport you back to the regular Black and White games. I think this would be so cool because it would give you one, a lot of gyms to rerun, an entire story to play through, more Lepa plots. Um, Different little features would be easier to implement, such as like the hidden grottos that were introduced in the second Black and White 2 games. And then as well, it would give you the unique opportunity. This is a huge point. With roaming Pokemon, it would give you the opportunity to add both trios as roamers. So in Pokemon Black and White, the original games, you could add Thundurus, Landorus, and Tornadus as the roamers in that region. And then for Pokemon Black and White 2, you could have it be, oh my goodness, I don't know their names. Virizion, Terrakion, and Cobalion, I think are their names. But you could add those three as roamers. So it makes sense and incorporates all the cool legendary Pokemon, right? Like there's so many different things that they could do simply by adding Pokemon. I mean, it's not simple, but by adding Pokemon Black and White 2. And I think if they're concerned about having the traveling to the future makes sense, I think this would be a great way to go about that. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. But yeah, so that's just a fun way for them to add all of those roamers, add the new locations, the new trainers, just different cool, unique hatch locations, shiny hunts. You could switch up the hordes in Black too, or make them all the same. Like it doesn't matter. But implementing that, I think, as the final addition would be awesome. On a side note, they could also do that to Kanto. I don't think it would be the best idea because you could, fast travel or you could teleport in Kanto and then have like Can 2 or whatever it's called, where then connect the magnet train from the Johto region over to the Kanto region in the future. So there's a lot of cool ways you could implement that and make it work. However, again, it would definitely need a lot of different programming and things like that, but I'm sure they could pull it off if they really wanted to. So with that being said, moving on to the next topic, it's actually going to be something I mentioned earlier, which was boss fights as well as different little like mini bosses. So one of my favorite things in PokeMMO is the Ho-Oh rebattle and also the shiny Gyarados battle that you encounter. Both of those are so cool, and it makes the Johto region feel special. It really does. It feels like all of these different regions just have these super cool things about them, but Johto feels like it gets some special sauce, right? It was the most recently implemented, so it makes sense that it's it's the highest quality. But implementing different bosses throughout the game, same with Sinnoh, by the way, with the Giratina fight, 10 out of 10, so cool. But if you could add a Mewtwo fight, if you could add Giovanni to Kanto, like every single region, in my opinion, should have the mirror image of Red, right? The tough level 100 trainer, and of Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh you can fight every week, you get cool rewards, and it's a really unique boss battle that adds a lot to PvE, and Red is the same way. So what you could do, and the idea that I've come up with, is in Kanto, you could have a Mewtwo battle where he could summon the birds next to him, or, he could just do like what Giratina does and just he could summon Mews or Dittos for all I care, really unique things that he could summon to really make the battle interesting. You could have it at the very bottom of Cerulean Cave where you just interact with him and engage in the battle once a week. And then you could make some exclusive rewards to Mewtwo, or even have the rare chance, this is a huge one too, of adding vanities to these different boss battles. Like for the Ho-Oh battle, for example, adding a Ho-Oh exclusive, like shiny Ho-Oh wing back bling that has a 1 in 10,000 chance of spawning after you, or like of appearing in your inventory after you defeat Ho-Oh, would be awesome, and it would make a lot of people grind those things. Because as of right now, legendary lures kind of ass. It's okay though. I think they're cool. just throwing that out there. But if you added an exclusive cosmetic, and of course, like with Red, a trainer and a boss battle in every single region, I think that would be fantastic. So starting off with Kanto, I would say you add Giovanni as the trainer, right? He could just go back to his spot in one of the rocket places, whether it's Silphco or whether it's, he's hiding somewhere in the region. Maybe hide him on one of the aisles for all I care, right? Just adding Giovanni's sprite as a level 100 boss battle with, BP rewards as well as a ton of money would be really cool. I'm getting too into the specifics, but let me just go over each region and what I would add. So I would add Giovanni and Mewtwo in Generation 1. Generation 2 has Ho-Oh, and it has Red. For Generation 3, Steven would be the battle. He's already sitting in the Mount Moon, or not Mount Moon, but that one Meteor Falls. He's already sitting there ready for the rebattle, but the function isn't implemented. So adding him and then Rayquaza, who's already at the top, waiting for you and just sits there without doing anything. Um, Even though it's kind of funny to see Rayquaza speak fluent English and say the function hasn't been implemented. So for Generation 3, you would have Steven and Rayquaza. Generation 4 is a little bit trickier. Off the top of my head, I would say you could have somebody like Barry, just like have your rival as a boss battle for that one, and then allow us to refight Giratina. Like, going to Turnback Cave every single week to go fight Giratina would suck, but you could totally add Giratina, or you could add at the top of, go to the top of Spear Pillar and add Barry, and then go add Giratina as a boss battle. That would be so sick for Sinnoh. Or Cyrus, add Cyrus somewhere. And then for Generation 5, you already kind of have Cynthia and Morimoto, so I'll give that one a pass. But I would add Kyurem, or Kyurem, however you say that, inside the, Giant Chasm. You could easily implement Kyurem as the boss battle for the Giant Chasm, who uses the Swords of Justice as his backups. That would be so cool. I would love to see that. So those are just my ideas for the different boss battles and how they can implement them. There are so many different unique teams you could use. Like, as a developer, that would be so fun to make. But just looking at these different options that you have really would add so much life to the game. I know the Ho-Oh rebattle and the Red fight have added already so many hours people have to put in to do endgame content, and it just adds so much enjoyment to your game. So again, this is a tough runner-up between the Pokeathlon and the different boss fights you could add. But I would add again, just to reiterate and close this one out, I would add a boss legendary like you did with Ho-Oh, and I would add a red refight trainer in every single region. So anyways, enough about that one. Moving on to one that's going to take a lot less time is, and this one's more selfish, but it's the Abyssal Ruins in Unova. You already have the dive locations for that, and it doesn't add a lot to the game. The only thing that it does add is it gives you, I looked it up, it gives you around 1.7 million in-game currency inside the hidden Abyssal Ruins or whatever, that's untradeable. So it makes sense. Like, maybe the argument is you don't want people grinding alt accounts and speed running 1.7 million in X amount of, in like 3 hours, which, if that's the case, I totally understand. However, you could totally balance them, or like just add less, or make some of the items just Pokeballs, right? Switching those shouldn't be too hard. And this location is so cool. Like, I don't know. It makes me so sad to see these little locations just unaccessible. Like, it makes me not frustrated, but like, I don't get the idea on like why these little things haven't been implemented. It'd be so simple. So I would add the Abyssal Ruins. You get for anyone who wants to know what items you get there, you get all of the Arceus plates, and then on top of that, you get Relic Copper, Relic Silver, and Relic Gold. Okay. And then you also get these really cool items that are only exclusive to this location, called the Relic Band, as well as the Relic Statue. And then I believe at the very bottom, you get something called the Relic Crown. And these just look so sick. Like, they're really cool held items. They're really cool. You can sell them for a ton of money. So really cool little feature to add. Cool hatch location. I wonder how many times I said cool in the past 10 minutes, but cool, right? Abyssal Ruins, super simple to add. It's next to Undella Bay if you guys want to check out where those dive locations are. But let me know in the comments if you've which one of these has been your favorite so far. After this one, just kind of another little simple one, is just going to be Naval Rock, right? There's some really, again, another location that you could just add, is Naval Rock. You could also add little things like, I think it's or what is that? Hold on. While I'm on this topic, there's also an island called Faraway Island, which is so cool, where you catch Mew. This is also in the Hoenn region. adding this, giving you the Eon ticket as something you could purchase or something you could, you'd have to beat all the storylines and complete all the Pokedexes to get to go to this endgame area. Like, obviously, don't let us, or maybe like let us catch Mew. But regardless, I just think adding Mew or adding this island, that's Faraway Island, just building on the lore would just be so cool. Another one that would be really cool is Darkrise Island. Let me pull this one up here. Yeah, New Moon Island. Like, let us do these side quests, even if we don't get to keep the Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to like keep Darkrai or keep Mew, but add a boss battle that we can go do, or add some kind of location where he's just standing there and you have to just fight him once for the storyline, right? Like, there's so many unique things you can add that would just breathe, again, so much life into the game. Add new hatch locations. There's also, let me see this. The floor, what is it? Wait, no, that's not it. It's Pokemon Diamond. For Shaman, I think it's really cool that Shaman appears in all the or in like the regions or whatever. But the Flower Paradise as a little location could be super cool. Even having Shaman out there as like, oh, whenever you beat Lunar New Year, what I would love to see is you beat Lunar New Year, and then what you do is it unlocks the, what's it called? What was the name of it again? It unlocks the Flower Paradise, the super long, like, it takes like 5 minutes to run down this strip, I swear. But having this cool location and this build up to the legendary that you just earned also would be really cool to see. Instead of just making it like a raid den, I get why you have like the cool Pillar of Light, but it's not a bad idea. I just think it would be awesome to add Flower Paradise, especially for people like me who really like love and care about the lore of these games. So that's just another thing. I'm sure that there's other locations that I'm missing. Oh, yes, another one is Victory Island in the Unova region where you can find Victini. That's just like a fun part of the storyline, right? Like, this would just be such a cool way to introduce people to the game. Yeah, like, you don't have to catch Victini. I get that, right? I know that that's why he's locked. Maybe you guys have plans for this in the future, but adding Liberty Garden as just another area you can access would be freaking amazing, right? There are so many different little things you could add. Anyways, I'll shut up about that, but looking into all these different regions and stuff that you can add, I just think it would be a really cool idea. So that's ultimately going to be the end of my list. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about my ideas. I know that a lot of these might be controversial. Maybe you guys don't want to see these added, or maybe you think my way of adding them is just stupid, and all that's fine. But what I would love to see is your guys' takes on these, and if this is something you think would be cool and would benefit the game. I, again, love theory crafting, so it's kind of fun to just geek out for a little bit. But let me know in the comments what some of your theory craftings are. I know the PokeMMO community has a lot of creative people, and I'm sure a lot of you have thought up your own ways to add either legendaries to the game or locations, or implement the new generations, add the fairy typing. There's so many ideas out there, and I'm sure you guys have come up with really cool ways that they could be implemented. I would love to hear that. So let me know in the comments below, message me on Discord, do whatever. I love theory crafting, so the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned here. But let me know as well which one of these theories, if you could, snap your fingers and have it appear today, which one you would have. Again, I would probably go with the Pokeathlon Dome just because of what it adds, with the close like second runner up being adding a trainer and a legendary to every region. But ultimately, thank you so much for listening to this one. Let's go right to the featured media of the week. So for the featured media of the week, I actually have a pretty interesting one. If you guys remember, PokeMMO Investments or Shadow OO, he is a super cool guy, great part of the PokeMMO community. He has actually started a pin company where he releases these super high quality pins, and I'm actually looking at some right now, and I'll add his link to the description, and I'm actually planning on making a video about it too. But he sent me these super cool pins. My favorite one is easily the little there's this cute little this cat that has a little like ace of spades or whatever on his head. Adorable. They're called Purrfect Pins. Again, I will link the Etsy shop in the description below. But it's so cool to see somebody from the PokeMMO community doing something so entrepreneurial. It's very inspiring to me as somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur and wants to put myself out there in more ways. And as well, he actually sent me something he has been working on, which is these cool little coasters. So he sent me these super cute little coasters. I actually use one on my desk right now. I used it for about a week, and my one critique that he told me to leave an honest review. So my one critique here is if there was a rubber backing on these coasters just to prevent your drink from sliding around. I think that would be awesome. It's not necessary, but the drink coaster that I normally use has a little rubber backing, and it's very, very nice. So, but these little drink coasters are so adorable. You can tell how much love went into these designs of these cats and the pins. So please go support Shadow OO. And then I have my own code, which is kind of silly. So go ahead and use Cabbage, and that will be able to help you guys save some money on your first order. So go check out his Etsy and stay tuned because he is building or having a website worked on that I will give a big shout out to whenever all of that's up. But regardless, that's actually going to cover everything for this week. If you did enjoy this weekly episode of the PokeMMO podcast, let me know. I know listening to me for like 30, 45 minutes was probably exhausting, but I would love to hear what you guys think because maybe this is something where, every, once a month I come out and I make a theory craft episode. Again, I'm just trying new things to see, gauge interest and to see what you guys are interested in. I do have plans of having a guest next week. But again, if just having a cabbage episode every once in a while is like entertaining to you guys, I can totally go out of my way to do that too. So let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here. Episode 14 next week. I will see you guys then.